welcome back. So what I'm going to start off doing today is glittering this plain stainless steel tumbler. I didn't paint it or anything because I kind of wanted it to just have, I didn't want any one color to kind of come through. I just kind of wanted it to be like just those Christmas colors. And this is called Festive Babe, and it was in the newest palette from, or last month's palette from Peachy Olive Glitters, and it's just classic Christmas. It's red, white, green, silver and gold kind of thing. It has stars in it a little bit, and it just says Christmas. And so my idea came from, I wanted to use this as an ultimate Christmas mix and just fill the whole tumbler with this particular glitter. And then I had got a decal from her as well, and it just sent me straight back to my favorite time of the year, which is all my Christmas movies, the funny, hilarious, classic, just, types of Christmas movies that you just never forget, and that if you don't watch them throughout the year, at one point during the holidays, it just doesn't mean that it's Christmas. So as you can see, this is a very chunky mix. So I rolled this in my parchment paper as soon as I got done with glittering it with the epoxy method. I did put a little bit more epoxy than I normally would, only because this is such a thick glitter, or such a chunky glitter, I should say, and that I just wanted it to kind of have a little bit of like room to kind of spread out in that way. And then rolling it in that parchment paper also does help with keeping those really sharp bits all from being, completely sticking out and everything. So once that glitter glue dried, I let that sit for many hours, probably overnight, knowing me. And I went in with coats of epoxy. Now, I was not worried about this having a really nice clear finish, but I did want it to be somewhat smooth, and in order for me to be able to sand it and not cause any issues or anything. So I did go in with this coat, then I went in with another coat, and then I did some sanding, and then we come to this step. So when I first saw this decal that is available on Peachy Olive Glitters, it took me back to the times of old days when you had to wait for something to come on TV or come, to be available on the network television, or to be, you had to go to the Blockbuster and rent it and, get the tape and bring it home. And I remember the tapes, and I remember beta tapes too. But anyways, so it just, the fact that this was all, the decal was all those particular movies and displayed in that way, just really took me to the moment of the way that I was going to do this particular tumbler. So I started off with sanding, doing my file, really knocking off any kind of rough bits, and just kind of giving it a nice smooth surface so that I could put these printable designs on here. Now these designs, I will put them in the availability for, on my Facebook page, so you could go and find them and use them if you want to. So, because none of these are like copyrighted or anything, but I just don't want to get anybody in trouble for going to search for them or whatever. So, but I wanted each one of these stripes on the tumbler to represent each one of those movies. It really took me a little bit of time to kind of figure out what was the most iconic thing about each movie that would translate into a stripe, right? So I really went back and forth with the Home Alone. I was going to do some different things that happened during the movie and different little images and stuff like that. And I just was like, no, I'm just going to go with the logo because it is so iconic with that house and just the way, and it is such a nice wraparound type of thing. And so I just went, okay, that's what we're going to do. So each one of these movies, I just kind of went with I thought about it and was like, what's the most iconic? And I thought the fishnet, I was gonna maybe think about doing the bunny suit, but I thought no, we'll do the fishnets, because that'll just be, you know, kind of much more. You know, you really have to see the movie to kind of know what that's about and everything. So I did the movies backwards, right? So because I kind of had to measure them out, and I was like, this is how the best way it's going to fit. And so I started off with the National Lampoons at the bottom. I mean, that's at the bottom of the decal, and I put that at top. So I just it worked out better for me to do it that way. And so I just printed off. I found these light bulbs on Creative Fabrica, and I just changed the color in Cricut Design Space, and I printed them off that way. So with the Grinch, I just went classic, just with the, you know, the green fur. Who doesn't know what the green fur is from, you know? So I just found an image off of Google and printed that off and just kind of cut it. I used the slice mechanism in Design Space and just kind of sliced through like the square of, made like a rectangular shape out of the square that I brought in from the image that I found. Elf, I went back and forth with that too, but I thought the belt was going to be the best one for that. Now, I did find this off of Creative Fabrica, but I actually cut it from like a printed image. I just kind of sliced out the belt out of that look of that elf. And so, but I thought it was definitely you would know what it was, or, you know, what we were referring to. So you'll see that I put the wax paper over my cami page thing. This has happened only a couple of times, but it's just something that I would advise you to. I think when it's just being used over and over again, it just kind of gets a little bit sharp on the edges, and it kind of scratched my printed vinyl that I had. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put a piece of the wax paper, you know, over it and put my tumbler back on it. I don't ever have this problem if I'm using like vinyl or wrap or glitter or whatever, but with the printable vinyl, which I don't use very often, but I kind of rolled it over there and I realized that it kind of scratched it just a little bit. So picked it up, put the wax paper underneath, and just beware of that in the future. I think I've used mine so many times that it's just maybe kind of gotten rough around the edges or something. But anyway, so I went in with the Home Alone wording, and I did that at the bottom first because I wanted to be able to fit that, you know, fishnet stocking look right above that. And I just wanted to make sure that I had enough room. So I just went ahead and did that one first and then went in with the other one. And that's that. I went through the whole thing, and I did seal it with Mod Podge, and I went in with my first coat of epoxy. So first off, don't mind my crazy hair, but I was trying to figure out if I could use one of these paint pens, and I was thinking, oh, I'll do, you know, like, I'll just do different colors, and I tried different yellows, and I just said, forget it. And so I went in with just a basic black Sharpie and just was like, okay, I'm just going to draw it on just kind of like a geode. And so I just went around and traced each one of these light bulbs, and I kind of used it as a, you know, almost like a cartoon look to it. I've been seeing this thing on TikTok where they've been making these cartoon versions of like cakes or something like that. And so I've been kind of like thinking that I want to do something like that. So I just thought at this moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this on these lights here. So I just traced the outside, and then I kind of added some little highlight things in there. And, I kind of made some of the sides a little bit. I was just trying to do something a little more cartoonish, I guess. So that's kind of what I was going for. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind as far as the lights themselves, but it was the best option that I could find in my searching. And so I just was like, okay, we're going to do this and we're just going to make it work, and I also needed to fix a couple of things on the Grinch fur because it kind of scratched on my little holder there, and so that's why I put the wax paper on there. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do the whole cartoon thing and just make all of this work so I don't have to throw this cup in the pile of all the other ones that I'm like, this isn't going to work out. So I just traced all the light bulbs. I traced the top parts of the light bulbs, the little plugs or whatever you want to, I don't know what they're called, but and then I had taken a silver marker and made a string like between the lights, but it did not survive the smearing of Mod Podge or the epoxy. I don't know. It just did not work out the way that I thought it was. So I just went in with the black marker and just kind of traced over that. So there was just this faint silver look behind the black. So it was perfectly fine. So now that I did the light bulbs, I kind of went through and was like, okay, I'm going to have to do more along the lines of, the look of each one of these. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cartoonish. And so there was a little bit of a mark right there. So I just took and just kind of did like those little accent lines or whatever that they have, in cartoons or where they have them and, the cartoon papers, or whatever. Anyways, I'm going to really stop talking before I completely make a fool of myself. But you know what I'm talking about. I hope I continued this all the way down to each one of these, except for the Home Alone one. I was just about to trace it on the outside. And then I thought, no, I'm going to leave this one alone. I think this one is perfectly fine the way it is. And so I didn't do the Home Alone, but I did the rest of them. So after I got done with that, I went into my my little stash of decals, and I have this set that I got from Mr. Nola's Glitter, and I'm also getting a set from Alana's gift shop, and I'm very excited about those. So I want to see the difference and, just how they look or, whatever. But anyways, I went ahead and I was like, okay, at first I was going to do it on the other side, but then all of the elements, like the belts and the home and everything was there on the other side. And so I thought, no, I'll just do it over the back side and I'll just own it. This is what we're going to do kind of thing, So I put that bleach spot decal on there, and then I went in and put the decal over on top of that. It is printed on white, but I really thought that it would pop out and just maybe kind of cover up a little bit of those lines. make it not so obvious, you know, on the backside. So that's why I did it that way. I did sand the rim. I sanded all around wherever I needed to, especially the bottom because it was kind of chunky. And I went in with 2 coats of epoxy. I probably need to do a little bit more sanding and trim up the rim and put a final coat of epoxy on there. Other than that, this cup is done. You know, last year I did the ugly sweater with the National Lampoon's theme. And so this year with that decal, I was like, oh my gosh, it has all of my movies. I actually love the Jim Carrey Grinch the best because I love him. I think he's hilarious. Elf is not one of my favorites, but all the rest of them, I watch them religiously. I know them very, very well. My son loves Home Alone all around, year round. And so, yeah, I've seen it a ton of times. And the Grinch. Anyways, if you haven't seen any of these movies, go and get them, download them, whatever. You don't have to rent them anymore. Times have changed. Anyways, like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you next time.